Hey there, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to October and the VeryVera Show. I'm so happy to be here tonight and have three wonderful recipes using pumpkin that I want to share with you. First, we're going to do a pumpkin donut hole with a maple glaze. The kids are going to love these. And then next, I'm going to do a pie with a granola topping. It's a pumpkin pie. It's got wonderful crumbs on top. And then finally, a pumpkin cheesecake with a black bottom crust. So you'll want to watch all three recipes. So let's get started with the donut hole. So what I've got here is all-purpose flour, and then we're going to add to that of all of those wonderful seasonings you love in the fall: cinnamon and ginger and allspice, all kinds of wonderful great things. And then 3 teaspoons of baking powder, because that's going to be what makes the donut hole kind of plump up when you put it in the hot oil. So just whisk those together. I'm going to get all the dry ingredients mixed together. And then in a medium-sized bowl, I've got my pumpkin puree. And I picked this up at the Fresh Market, and the can doesn't say puree, but that's exactly what it is. So I'm going to add that to some light brown sugar. I'm going to slightly beat a large egg. And this is great because you don't even have to use a mixer. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And this time of year, you know, just to have some things that maybe you can have on hand that kind of represent the month, like the pumpkin sort of ingredients. So let's mix this together, and then we'll gradually add the dry ingredients to that. I've got my oil cooking in the Presto cooker over here. You may have a Fry Daddy or something like that, but if you don't have one of those, you can use a Dutch oven just on top of the stove. You want your temperature to get to about 375, so you can use a candy thermometer on the side of the Dutch oven when you're doing that. So now I'm adding the dry ingredients to this, and we want to just get it blended very smoothly. And I'll go ahead and open up the lid to the fryer. So just stir that together. And there again, it's just this time of year, between the colors and all of the wonderful aromas, I'm just really glad that some cool weather has come our way. We're going to be doing a maple glaze to go on top of these as well, so it kind of adds a really nice extra punch to all of your fall favorites. All right, this is just about ready to go. And what I'm using to make my donut holes is a spring ice cream scoop, and you want to use one that's about 1.5 inches. So let's get started on the magic. I'm just going to take my scoop, and I'll come over to the oil, and you want to just drop it in. And look at that, it's just bouncing around, dancing in the pan. And because I'm using a scoop and putting it in that way, I'm not going to use the fry basket that comes with this. Ooh, these are going to be so good. This reminds me of fall festivals this time of year. Maybe if some of you are helping with a school festival, this might be something that you might want to try. Now we're going to let those cook for about 1.5 minutes. And the maple glaze that's going to go with this uses confectioner's sugar and water, and then maple flavoring. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of water to this while I'm watching really carefully. I'm going to turn the one that's kind of getting brown, and you see that? It's just really getting nice and golden. And may I say, they're almost perfect in size and uniform in shape. All right, and then I'll add the maple to this. And you want to do this right at the last minute so that it'll go on very smoothly on top of those. So let me back this off just a minute. We'll start pulling these out. And when we come back from the break, I'll have that maple glaze all ready. Look at those, wow. And we'll get those glazed and ready to go, and probably in these crew members' mouths. So come back with us after the break. welcome back. And if you're just joining us, you just missed these donut holes getting fried. And oh my gosh, it smells so wonderful in here. So we made the maple glaze before we went to the break, and I went ahead and glazed some of them. And basically all you're gonna do is put a piece of wax paper under a cookie sheet and just take the glaze and just let it run all over the top of these donut holes. And after a few minutes, it'll set and be just right. And you know, I just couldn't help myself because I cut one. Oh my goodness, so moist. So the next thing we're gonna do, we got a lot going on today, are the black bottom crust pumpkin cheesecake bars. And I've kind of done something a little different here. I've put some vanilla wafers in there too, because I like there to be some speckles in the crust when I do it. So instead of having just the wafers, I've added a little bit of vanilla wafer to this. I just want to put it in the food processor long enough for it to get just good and ground up. And these are the Fresh Market brand. And you know, I know y'all think, well, she just says Fresh Market all the time. Well, not only do they sponsor this show, which I truly appreciate, but you know, I feel like I know the people that I'm buying my ingredients from, and that really makes it nice. So I'm gonna add these chocolate crumbs to sugar and a little bit of salt. And then we're just going to pour some melted butter over that. And that's going to go in a baking pan in a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes, or until the outside edges start getting nice and brown. So again, it's nice when you've got some recipes that can be done in steps so that you can go and get some other things done. All you want to do here is just get it nice and moistened, and then you'll flatten it out with the spatula when you put it in the pan. I can do these ahead, at least the crust part, and it works out really well. And as you can see, those little speckles just give a little bit of interest to what this black bottom crust is going to look like. All right, that's just about ready to go. So I'm going to just pour this over in my pan and just take the spatula and just mash it down evenly around. And one tip that I want to give you is that when you're making a crust like this, you know, I've said I kind of differentiated it by adding the vanilla wafers, but you could put nuts in here, you know, whether it was pecans or peanuts or almonds. But you know, take advantage of maybe making it your own version of a recipe that you really like. So if you try something different with this, email me at vera@nbc26.tv and tell me what you did and how it turned out. I'd love to hear from you. All right, this is ready now to go in a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes. And then we'll get started on this pie. Now this is going to be really a lot of fun because today I'm using a pre-made pie crust, but you can make your pie crust yourself. You can buy the sheets and roll it out. But what I've done with the second one that came with this is I just took a rolling pin and rolled it out, and then I've taken these wonderful little cookie cutters that my daughter-in-law Mallory let me borrow today. She makes a wonderful apple pie, and she let me use these today. But I've made little cutouts of leaves that are going to be part of the granola crust. So those will be ready to go in the oven in just a few minutes. But the pie itself is very basic. This is your pumpkin pie puree that was in a can. I'm adding sugar, granulated sugar, brown sugar, 3 slightly beaten eggs, whipping cream. Don't you love these ingredients? And then all the wonderful things, the cinnamon, the pumpkin pie spice, a little bit of salt, and then a teaspoon of vanilla. And always use that good vanilla because vanilla really makes a difference. And this is just going to get whisked together. I'll set this just over here so I've got plenty of room to work. And when we come back after the break, the pie crust, the bottom, black bottom will be ready. This pie is gonna get in the oven, and just look at that. Aren't those ingredients just wonderful? This is gonna be nice and smooth. I'm gonna pour it in the pie shell, and then we'll get started on the cheesecake mixture for the cheesecake bars. So come back with me after the break. You know, being invited to someone's home is always such a treat, and just really wanting to see the whole home and maybe take advantage of the opportunity that you were given to be invited. But unless it's an open house, you're really not supposed to wander around in the home without being invited. Right now I'm in my bedroom coming out of a bathroom, and certainly I always love to see other people's houses and how they're decorated. But unless it's an open house or they've invited you to, be at home, walk wherever you'd like, it's really not appropriate to go any further than where the guests are. One of the things that's always nice when you're in someone's home is to be sure to compliment them on something about their home or the fact that it's just been a great evening. So be sure to point out something that you really like. Make sure you thank them for having you in their home, and be sure not to go off base unless you've been invited to do so. Welcome back, and I hope you're not sick of pumpkin yet, because we've got so many more things to do with pumpkins today, and I want to thank you for joining us. I have been busy as a bee during the break, and so what I've got here is 3 8-ounce squares of cream cheese. And recipes always tell you to have that at room temperature, and it never seems to work that you've gotten that part done. So let me give you a tip. If you ever need to get that done quickly, instead of using the microwave, because that's kind of tricky with cream cheese, just fill your sink up with some hot water and sit this bowl with the cream cheese in it down in the hot water, and it'll help make that process go well. So we're gonna let this cream, and I'm gonna walk down here and kind of go over what we did earlier. Remember when I was cutting out the pie crust with the little cookie cutters? And so I've got different shaped leaves that are gonna become part of the pie. It's just gonna be such a visually great effect when the pie comes out of the oven and we put the granola on it. But I used this sparkling sugar on the top. These are gonna go in the oven just really quickly after the pie comes out to be part of the garnish on the top of the pie. And then this is the black bottom pie crust. And as you can see, the little bit of vanilla wafer just kind of gave it a little bit of a different look. And remember, you're supposed to be thinking about what else you could add to your pie crust. So this is cooled and ready to go. And so now we're ready to make the cream cheese part of this recipe. One of the things you need to remember when you get ready to make this recipe is that the actual process does take a little bit of time. So kind of set aside the morning or the afternoon if you're gonna make this recipe. So we've got the cream cheese nice and creamy, and now I'm gonna start slowly adding the confectioner's sugar. And if you have one of those plastic guards that goes on your KitchenAid when you're doing this, it really helps when that powdered sugar comes flying back up. But this will just kind of go in slowly. And you can also utilize components of this recipe today, and instead of making bars, you could actually use all of the same principles just to make a cheesecake with a springform pan. All right. So that was a cup of confectioner's sugar. And now I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of light brown sugar. And certainly, unless you were having a dessert party, you're not going to be using all of these recipes at once. But hopefully, some of what we've gone over today can be utilized along the way during your fall entertaining, whether you're doing something with the children for Halloween, with the donut holes. This recipe is great if you're having a dinner party or if you're having an afternoon tea. Now I'm going to add 4 eggs, one at a time. And these are large eggs. And the mixture's just really coming together. It looks beautiful. And then I've got the pumpkin puree that's going to go in this as well. So I'm going to turn that up just a little bit. And now we're going to add the pumpkin puree. I'm going to pull that up to do that and scrape the sides down on the bowl. It would be a little bit more difficult if you were using a hand mixer with this particular recipe. But that's coming together really well. Now I'm going to add the pumpkin puree. And it just really bakes up such a nice color too. Very Halloween-like with the black bottom crust. Okay, let's whip that around. And then 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I've almost gone through a whole jar of vanilla today on the show. That and pumpkin. Okay, then the final part of the recipe is a mixture of all of the wonderful seasonings. Again, we're using cinnamon and nutmeg and ginger, and this is a little bit of flour just to give it a little bit of bulk. You know, a cheesecake's got to kind of firm up through the middle. So we're going to add this in just to get it stirred through, and then I'm going to be ready to pour that on the pie crust. All right, that's looking pretty good. And you know, my mother always scraped every last bit of anything off of the spatula on the mixer when she did something. All right, so now this is ready just to pour directly onto that crust. And this is going to go into a 300-degree oven. You're coming down on your temperature this time. And it's going to be in there for about 40 to 45 minutes. Then we're going to turn the oven off and let it sit for 2 hours. So come back with me after the break. I'm going to show you how beautifully we can present everything we've made today. Welcome back, and welcome to October, and welcome to a day of festivals with pumpkins. And I've had such a great time. You know, my passion actually really is baking, believe it or not, since I was in the cake business for 29 years. But I've just really had a great time today doing things that have to do with baking and getting back to my sweet side, because I haven't done sweets in a few weeks. So while we were gone for the break, I put the granola topping on the pie. So the pie was just about set. This is a granola and flour and sugar. There's some almonds in here. Just really put that on top. And then I put it back in the oven for 15 minutes. And then remember the little pastry leaves that we did? This is where the pie becomes three-dimensional, where you can just take these leaves and just stick them all over the pie, and it kind of comes to life. It just really adds another element to how you can make this look really attractive to serve. And I've got some little ones as well, and then I did some little balls like berries. So you can decorate that, and then dried cranberries just for a little pop of color. So if you're planning something unusual for, you know, this month or even next month for Thanksgiving, this is a really great, beautiful dessert. And then over to the cheesecake bars, I want to give you a tip. When you do something in a rectangular pan like this, which is a bar, you want to make sure you go around the edges with your knife and then start in the center when it comes time to lift it out, because it's going to come out a lot cleaner, and then you can work from side to side. But I've done one on a white plate and just took the Hershey's syrup and, you know, went across it and make it look like a spider web. So that would be fun, with maybe a dollop of marshmallow cream on the top would be fun for the kids. And then, you know me and peanut butter. This is a honey peanut butter spread, and I'm just gonna put a little dollop of that instead of whipped cream on the top of this square. And then, you know, garnishing to me, just, you know, looking at this pie and looking how beautiful it turned out, you know, makes you realize that seeing something beautiful really makes you want to try it. So coming up with new ways to garnish. These are just some yogurt covered pretzels I picked up at the Fresh Market. They've got that great candy display in place, and just sticking something like that in the top of the piece really finishes it off, and it really makes it quite special. You know, the Three Monkeys in Aiken, if you've not been there, you must go, because I want to buy everything in the store. But looking at the colors we were trying to use today, they decorated the kitchen so attractively. They've got these beautiful plates that really bring out this time of year. If you want to do something really special, this is a beautiful place setting there. And then of course we've got the pumpkin balls that we did earlier, the donut holes, and just in a beautiful basket with some paper leaves really makes a nice, attractive presentation. And those are good, really warm, and they're great just as they are. So as you think about what you want to do this month as far as entertaining, having people over, just remember our recipes are available at NBC26.tv under the VeryVera Show. And I want to remind you that all month I'm going to be doing recipes related to the month of October. And for all of you kids that want to get back in the kitchen, I want to welcome you to my new cottage on Wheeler Road, where I'm going to be doing fall classes. The first one is on October the 18th. So if you want to sign up, go to Vera at VeryVera.com for more information on our Halloween special that we're going to do with the children. So I hope you'll join me. But remember, as you get ready to entertain, try some new recipes, take the time to just enjoy the aromas and enjoy the fun and make those that love you happy. And always remember, whatever you do, do it in good taste. And speaking of taste, I can't wait to try this cheesecake. I hope you'll come back and join me next week.